Once upon a time, the film has been $200 million. This DCEU, The Flash, as expected, he knows this shit. Marvel Cinematic Universe. One last time. This is what the world wants. And returns and fights. Yes, The Flash is a cool dude. Only, in my opinion, only 10 minutes. 10 minutes. He is a comic geek. So what now? Ha 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 ha. Hey everyone, the Dark Knight is here. Bruce Wayne warns Barry Allen of severe consequences if he keeps running back in time to see his mother alive. Overcome by his emotions, Barry uses Speed Force to alter the past and ends up in another universe where there is another version of Barry Allen with his mother alive. Welcome to yet another sad chapter of an ever-collapsing, brain-farting universe of DCEU, a cinematic universe whose gods are still devising a plan to jumpstart and level with Disney Studios' Marvel Cinematic Universe. After 7 years of inception, or maybe 10 if I count Man of Steel. I dare to miss that. Apologies. The story of this cinematic universe still fails to get confidence vote of comic book audience or DC Comics loyalists. Meetings after meetings, reshoots after reshoots. Executive producers are still clueless, and now every Justice League actor is out, besides Jason Momoa. If you ever get to know that a DC film has been interrupted by the bosses and they have ordered reshoots, then realize that the film has been fucked and is marching towards another failure even before hitting the theaters. The Flash is just another DC superhero film that is badly trying to follow one of the successful routes of Marvel Cinematic Universe philosophy, which is dragging humor in almost everything. Yes, The Flash is a cool dude, and I cannot imagine his solo film going dark, despite his dark origins and some portions of his comic book pages turning black in the past. The Flash film is supposed to entertain the audience, but you have to apply fun and entertainment only, in my opinion, only when the cinematic universe is either fixed or turning towards a game changer. Fixing the universe and being a game changer in the universe are the two major factors for which the film was to be made responsible for. Instead, the film overcooked the whole screenplay with a very unconvincing plot. After such a messed up plot, with an extremely bad CGI, you will have to ask yourself, what was the value of the entire story of the film? Exactly, close to none. Warner Brothers have still not learned their mistakes from DCEU failures. You cannot drag so many characters in a film just to get the audience approval. The story of the film needs breathing, and there is no space. There is no time of maturing those supporting characters that you introduced in a film. Michael Keaton's Batman has returned into this miserable DC universe, just like wrestling legends are often dragged to some main WWE events to attract the audience. After mere 10 minutes of on-screen appearance of Keaton's Batman, he agrees to fight alongside visibly two boys with silly jokes.
Oh, look at all this cool shit! Okay, Harry, don't touch anything.
To find Superman and stop General Zod from invading the planet. 10 minutes. 10 minutes. Keaton's Batman, who looked so washed up to his old game, suddenly finds the reason and returns and fights. Such development requires build-up, and that lacked here. There is nothing wow about Supergirl at all. boring introduction, unattractive fighting sequences, and no character development at all. Plus, Sasha Calle doesn't look fit for the role. Michael Shannon's General Zod has been terribly wasted. You must have felt Zod's wrath in Man of Steel 10 years ago. You know why? Because Zod's character was widely stretched to fit in that story of Man of Steel and made you feel uncomfortable about his madness. But this time in The Flash, that was missing. I was not getting that thrill about his attempt to invade the planet because he was hardly 15 minutes in the film. Unprecedented cameos in the final act were meaningless and dragged. Yes, thank you. Super thank you for finally uniting Christopher Reeve's Superman and Helen Slater's Supergirl in the same frame in such a blood-boiling and outrageous use of CGI. But at what cost? In fact, I'm curious to know the real cost of production for this film. Wikipedia and various sources on the internet says that The Flash is produced on the budget of $200 million. I fail to believe a film with heavy budget hitting the theaters with that deep fake and outrageous CGI. The dialogues of the film lacks substance. There is no impact, very off dialogues. Cheesy, in fact.
Come on, Barbie. Let's go party?
Come on, Barbie, let's go party? Seriously? Ha 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 ha.
You want to get nuts? Let's get nuts.
You want to get nuts? Let's get nuts. Wow, Batman. What a one-liner. Mind-blowing one-liner of the century. You want to get nuts? Let's get nuts. No, in fact, two-liners. Musical score is super ordinary. So many vital scenes lack musical impact, which is very important in the films, but absolutely no influence, no inspiration. Damnation. What a stupid film have you made? I'm unsure of Ezra Miller's future after being surrounded with so many controversies. But after watching The Flash, I feel it is time to find a new Flash. This character portrayal is way too cheesy. Very disappointing performance by Ezra Miller. And it feels like the television portrayal of Grant Gustin was more fitting and closer to comic books in comparison. Some interesting developments come out from this film. Like Barry Allen was in Metropolis when Zod started killing people. Ben Affleck's Batman drove Batpod. That is similar to what Christian Bale and Anne Hathaway drove in the Dark Knight trilogy. Or Boba Fett shows up as Tom Curry of the Other World when Barry Allen tries to check if Arthur Curry in that new world is existing. Keaton's Batman electrocuting the Flash is straight comic book reference from the Flashpoint. Speaking of Flashpoint, when the Flash was announced years ago, I was under the impression that this film, The Flash, is going to be based on Flashpoint due to the nature of continuity in the first phase of DCEU indicating about it. Remember when Barry Allen from future comes to warn Bruce Wayne in Batman Superman film? But I guess I was in delusion to assume if Warner Brothers executives will come up with a plan smart enough to run a comic book inspired storyline. Despite being immensely disappointed with the film, I still liked a couple of scenes. One was when Ben Affleck's version of Bruce Wayne gives thought-provoking advices to Barry. The life lesson that Bruce gave to Barry were so hard-hitting that actually made Ben Affleck's version of Bruce Wayne more subtle. I wish that DCEU had valued that angle of Bruce Wayne, Batman. The other scene is when Barry meets his mother in the supermarket one last time. Knowing the fact that he is reversing the altered timeline, which means that his mother will remain killed in the past, breaks Barry and makes the audience reimagine. What if their sons and daughters meet their dead parents if they get the opportunity to meet them in the past? one last time. How does it feel? Painful, isn't it? And this is exactly what Bruce Wayne was trying to make Barry understand.
These scars we have make us who we are. We're not meant to go back and fix them. And there's nothing broken with you that needs to be fixed. Take it from an old guy who's made a lot of mistakes. Do you want to live your past? Live your life.
A cinematic delight to our eyes was appearance of not one, but two Batmen in the same film. Let's not talk about the third Batman Bruce Wayne because that was meaningless. Anyway, a story that had to make two Batmen from different worlds appear for Barry Allen still didn't give thrill to the audience. One may have to ask themselves, should two Batmen have shared the same screen, just like three Spider-Men? I think it obviously would have been exciting, but at what cost? Story did not support to bring two Batmen from different worlds together at all. So I think it was a good decision not to bring them together. Maybe it would have been more heartbreaking to see two Batmen showing up in the same frame and still the film is going to meet with unusual disappointment. So I think it's a blessing that both Batman didn't show up together. So what now? Now I wait for Aquaman and I will observe how James Gunn's new vision for DC Universe will give birth from there. Am I excited? About what? This DCEU had a weak foundation due to a punctured storyline that was so unjust to the Justice League. The slating of the films, interferences of Warner Brothers bosses, reshoots of the films, the Joss Whedon chapter, and last of all, rejecting Zack Snyder's vision of continuing of what looked to be a very promising trilogy of Justice League. All this failed to present a DCEU that we comic geeks ever wanted to watch out. Just take a small example of planning Michael Keaton to play a Nick Fury kind of role in the future films of this DCEU. And for this purpose, Michael Keaton starred in this film and then he was working in Batgirl and the upcoming sequel of Aquaman. When Warner Brothers hired James Gunn came up with a new plan. And in that plan, there was no future for Michael Keaton. That guy who returned as Batman after 30 years, he was killed in The Flash, Batgirl got shelved in the post-production, and his scenes, if I'm not wrong, are cut in Aquaman's coming sequel. How do you expect actors like Michael Keaton to work with you in this universe for a long period? When it comes to box office collections, The Flash, as expected, is the sixth consecutive flop in the DC Extended Universe. Shazam in 2019 was the last successful DCEU film. Since then, two of the DCEU films didn't even reach the cost of the film budget. Wonder Woman 1984 and The Suicide Squad. Perhaps because of COVID hit 2020? I don't know. But still, the last three DCEU films didn't even meet the break-even. It's disaster. And now, Blue Beetle has become the seventh consecutive flop in the DCEU. Shall I be optimistic about James Gunn's vision for DCU? See, I am inclined towards Zack Snyder's vision for this DC Extended Universe. But you know what? It is useless to whine about something that is now shelved. It's unfortunate. It's ego of Warner Brothers bosses that they are just not willing to admit that this is what the world wants. This is what your fans, your comic book loyalists mostly agree with, to continue with Zack Snyder's vision, but they just don't want to. So now we have James Gunn. So it's useless to whine. The only one thing that I really like about James Gunn is that he is a comic geek. He knows this shit. He knows about comic books, its significance. This guy recognizes the old school work of comics, the illustrators, the writers, the artists. He knows the entire legacy. So this guy knows this shit. And being a DCU head, there is a chance to build some optimism that the film universe can march towards that universe where you can smell comic book pages. I'm sure all of you have watched James Gunn's video about the announcement of his DC universe, the slating of the films. And if you carefully notice, if you are in comic books, you will realize that all those announcements have a sense of comic books. That guy, even in the announcements, kept talking about comic books, and comic books, which is what us comic geeks want, to have a universe that identifies and recognizes the efforts and contributions, the value of those writers, those illustrators. Where and what is the enthusiasm of a superhero film that doesn't have a value of comic books at all? To devalue book sources and detach comic characters and storyline for a new Once Upon a Time, you need to come up with an extremely rich writing content that is going to hit the audience while playing the right chords. So, dear friends, not every film can be Joker at all. Closing remarks. To end my never-ending assessment, let's just assume, guys, that The Flash is a comedy film. Enjoy with your friends. Ha ha, hoo hoo. That's what this film tried to do with the audience. Come on, Barbie, let's go party. Ha ha ha. And for some time, we believe that S stands for hope. I'm Sunny Knaik.